What if the most trusted person around Kate Middleton is the one planning her downfall? On an otherwise uneventful Tuesday morning in Vatican City, a ripple of unease began to spread, quietly at first, but soon erupting into a media storm that not even the most seasoned royal watchers could have anticipated. At precisely 9:47 a.m., Pope Leo XIV stood behind the velvet-draped podium inside the Apostolic Palace and delivered what at first appeared to be a sermon on modern virtue. But then came the sentence that would detonate like a thunderclap across two continents. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. In 2025, she will be betrayed by someone within the palace. The one most trusted shall become the one most dangerous. The Pope never mentioned a name, but he didn't have to. Within hours, newsrooms from London to New York were flooded with calls, tips, and speculation. She was Kate Middleton Catherine, Princess of Wales. The Duchess turned future queen. The beloved royal known for her restraint, grace, and seemingly unshakable composure. And now, the target of a veiled Vatican warning no one saw coming. At first, many believed it was a mistranslation, a misstep. The Pope was speaking in Italian, after all. But as official Vatican transcripts were released, word for word confirming what had been heard, it became clear that this was no accident. The message was real, intentional, deliberately vague yet unmistakably threatening. It was the kind of cryptic prophecy that harkened back to another time, another Europe, where popes and monarchs waged subtle wars of influence through whispers and scripture, where power was balanced on the edge of belief. And now, in the era of iPhones, algorithms, and palace PR machines, the ancient game had returned. What made the moment more spine-tingling, more conspiratorial, was that Pope Leo had never before commented directly on the British royal family. Unlike his predecessors, who had occasionally made pastoral remarks about the need for unity among nations or compassion within leadership, Pope Leo XIV had always kept a dignified distance. That changed in less than 60 seconds, when he uttered the word betrayed in connection with a royal palace. British tabloids scrambled. Morning talk shows rerouted their programming. Twitter imploded. Was this a spiritual warning? A symbolic metaphor? Or something far more literal, based on intelligence quietly passed to the Holy See through diplomatic channels or personal confidants with Vatican access? The story immediately began to metastasize across news cycles. But what gave the statement its teeth, what transformed it from cryptic papal poetry to an international thunderbolt, was the timing. 2025 wasn't years away. It was now. The betrayal, by the Pope's own words, was imminent, looming, and possibly already in motion. Kate Middleton, for her part, remained silent. Her press team issued no statement. Buckingham Palace refused to comment, only saying, "We do not speculate on spiritual matters." But silence, in this case, did not calm the fire. It fed it. Inside royal circles, insiders reported a sudden, noticeable tightening of security around Kate's public engagements. One of her most trusted female aides, with 10 years of service, abruptly resigned just days after the prophecy. And during a visit to a children's hospital in Oxfordshire, eagle-eyed viewers noticed a new face among her security, an MI5 officer known for previous assignments involving high-profile political targets. These were not coincidences. They were indicators. Signs that the palace wasn't just aware of the Pope's words. They were taking them seriously. But why would the head of the Catholic Church make such a statement? And more pressingly, what did he know? To understand the magnitude of what just happened, one must first understand how unprecedented it truly was. The Vatican is known for its discretion. It moves slowly, methodically. Even when condemning war or addressing scandals, its language is traditionally cautious, diplomatic, and steeped in metaphor. For a pope to reference betrayal, by a palace insider no less, was not only unusual, it was seismic. There are only a handful of modern moments when the Vatican has made predictions that touch geopolitics. Most of them come from private communications, leaks, or posthumous revelations. But this was public. This was deliberate. This was timed. And it leads to one question that now hangs over Buckingham Palace like a storm cloud. Who, inside the most scrutinized palace on earth, is planning to betray the future queen? The phrase, "the one most trusted shall become the one most dangerous," suggests that this will not be an ordinary betrayal. It implies intimacy, proximity. Not a rogue employee or anonymous whistleblower, but someone close. Someone whose access to Kate is both physical and emotional. Immediately, speculation turned toward her inner circle. Was it a private secretary? A longtime nanny? Could it be a member of the royal family itself? Someone hiding a grudge behind smiles and photo ops? Some have pointed fingers at Meghan Markle, despite her formal departure from royal duties and physical distance in California. But others argue this betrayal will come from someone much closer to Kate, perhaps someone who still sits beside her during royal functions or walks the corridors of Kensington Palace without raising an eyebrow. Then there's the question of motive. What does this betrayal involve? A scandal? A leak? A fabricated story to damage her credibility? Or something darker, an engineered event designed to discredit or isolate her at a time when her role in the monarchy is more crucial than ever? Because behind the tabloid headlines and the glittering public appearances, a far more complex reality simmers beneath the surface. The royal family is not as unified as it appears. Factions exist. Quiet rivalries have always simmered between those who want to modernize the monarchy and those who cling to its traditional order. Kate Middleton, with her immense popularity, diplomatic grace, and flawless media presence, has long been seen as the monarchy's most powerful future asset. But in certain circles, she's also viewed as a threat, too perfect, too admired, too influential. And when you become the face of a system that some wish to reshape or tear down, you inevitably become a target. The Pope's warning doesn't suggest that betrayal is possible. It states, with prophetic finality, that it is certain. She will be betrayed, he said. Not might, not could, will. That certainty is what shakes the palace walls more than anything else. In the middle of this storm sits Kate herself, the Duchess who played the long game, who married into one of the most powerful institutions on earth, endured tabloid scrutiny, racial innuendos directed at her children-in-law, and the silent wars of protocol and hierarchy. And now, just as she appears to be solidifying her position as the calm future queen, the Vatican has all but predicted her undoing, not by strangers or external forces, but by someone she likely sees every day. This story, then, is no longer just about a papal remark. It's about the collision between faith and power, between prophecy and politics, between the future of the monarchy and the unseen hand that may be trying to steer it. We will explore every corner of this unfolding drama, the people behind the prophecy, the secrets hidden in palace corridors, and the question no one dares to ask out loud. Is this betrayal already in motion? Because if it is, then Kate Middleton may already be standing next to the one who will bring her down. To understand the shockwave of Pope Leo XIV's chilling statement, one must first dive into the intricate world of Vatican communication, symbolism, and historical precedent. What the world witnessed was not simply a religious leader issuing a vague spiritual metaphor, it was a coded alarm, delivered with chilling precision from the most secretive, politically calibrated institution on the planet. Pope Leo XIV is not a man known for drama or hyperbole. His public persona, since his election in 2021, has been marked by careful diplomacy, moderate reform, and an almost monk-like devotion to order and subtlety. So when he made that now infamous statement, delivered slowly, with deliberate pacing and an unusually focused gaze, it deviated sharply from his usual tone. The setting of the statement also mattered. It wasn't issued during a public mass or during Easter celebrations where large audiences might expect a moment of broad spiritual significance. No, the comment came during a closed-door briefing held with members of the Vatican Diplomatic Corps, an annual event where the Pope usually speaks on global affairs, world conflicts, the refugee crisis, and moral integrity and governance. The audience was comprised of a select group: ambassadors, high-ranking clergy, scholars, and a few members of the press granted conditional access. These individuals were no strangers to veiled messages and layered meanings. They understood that nothing in such a setting was accidental. Not the language, not the order of topics, not even the silences between sentences. And that's what made the Pope's remarks so utterly jarring. His statement came toward the end of the address, sandwiched between commentary on the war in Eastern Europe and a renewed call for ethical AI development. Then, almost out of rhythm with the rest of the speech, came the sentence that froze the room. In 2025, she will be betrayed by someone within the palace. The one most trusted shall become the one most dangerous. There was no direct segue, no explanation. Just that line, spoken in Italian, but confirmed later in multiple translated transcripts, followed by a brief pause and a shift to an entirely unrelated topic. It was as if the Pope had dropped a grenade and then calmly walked away. Within hours, Vatican translators were flooded with requests for clarification. Was she a metaphor for a broader symbol, perhaps a nation, a government, or even the church itself? But the Vatican's press office didn't help. Their official comment was infuriatingly vague. His Holiness speaks to the soul of humanity. Interpretations are a matter of conscience. That was all they said. Not a denial. Not an affirmation. Just enough ambiguity to allow the world's most fevered imaginations to fill in the blanks. But sources close to Vatican insiders began leaking more. According to one retired Swiss Guard officer who spoke anonymously, the Pope had asked his inner circle days prior to ensure that this line was included in the final draft of the speech, meaning it wasn't an offhand remark, but a conscious insertion. And, according to two senior members of the Congregation for Bishops, the Pope had received a confidential dossier weeks earlier that may have influenced his decision to issue the warning. What was in that dossier? No one knows for certain, but some believe it contained information gathered through confessional channels, third-party diplomatic sources, and reports compiled by members of the Catholic Church with deep access inside the British establishment. The Vatican's intelligence network may not operate like MI6 or the CIA, but it is quietly powerful, built over centuries through clergy, alliances, and its global footprint. More intriguing is the phrase itself: the one most trusted shall become the one most dangerous. It echoes biblical language, but it also resonates like something out of a Shakespearean tragedy. It's reminiscent of Brutus and Caesar, of the kiss of Judas. The betrayal that doesn't come from an enemy, but from a friend. Why deliver it in that specific way? Because, some say, the Vatican has mastered the art of signaling without saying. A direct accusation would have been reckless and diplomatically explosive. But a symbolic warning, open-ended and draped in mystery? That could accomplish the same purpose without fingerprints. For centuries, the Vatican has used prophecy to warn, shape, or pressure global actors. From letters to emperors during the Holy Roman Empire, to moral rebukes of fascism in the 1930s, to encrypted correspondence during the Cold War, the Church has always straddled the line between divine revelation and political maneuvering. And yet, this instance feels different because of who it's aimed at. Kate Middleton is not a head of state. She is not in command of armies, and she has never made headlines for political statements. Yet somehow, she has become a focal point in a prophecy that feels less like a warning and more like a prediction. But why Kate? And why now? Some believe it ties into her increasing influence inside the monarchy. With King Charles's health rumored to be fragile and Queen Camilla facing public mistrust, Kate has become the stabilizing image of the royal family. Her appearances are precise. Her public remarks are controlled but impactful. She speaks not just for herself, but increasingly for the future of the crown. This growing power, however gracefully worn, is not without risk. It creates envy, tension, and, perhaps, plots. Those studying papal speechcraft noted another detail. The Pope, when saying she will be betrayed, did not use conditional phrasing. Not may, not might, not could. He said will. This is crucial. In theological rhetoric, especially from a pontiff, certainty of language signals divine guidance or undisputed intelligence. So the question becomes, does the Pope believe this betrayal is already in motion? One interpretation gaining traction among Vatican watchers is that the betrayal is part of a larger cultural or moral decay the Pope has been quietly addressing for months. In several earlier homilies, Pope Leo XIV warned about the seduction of image over character and the corrosion of loyalty among those who are rewarded for betrayal. Some believe he was building up to this moment. And now, with one sentence, he has made his target known, even if only by implication. Adding to the mystery is a small but overlooked detail in the Vatican's official press release. Alongside the transcript of the Pope's speech, the Church included 3 passages from Scripture as reference points. One of those passages comes from Psalm 41, verse 9. Even my close friend, someone I trusted, one who shared my bread, has turned against me. That line, believed by many to reference the betrayal of Jesus by Judas, is loaded with thematic weight. It's about proximity, familiarity, intimate betrayal. By including that passage, without any context, the Vatican may have been offering those willing to dig a clue into the Pope's deeper meaning. Scholars of religious rhetoric have already begun publishing interpretations. One prominent Jesuit theologian argued in La Civiltà Cattolica that the Pope's words reflect a belief in a moral test facing the world's most powerful institutions. He wrote, "This betrayal is not merely about an individual. It is about the sickness of loyalty being used as a weapon. The shepherd warns not just of wolves, but of the sheep who bite. In this reading, the Pope may not be calling out Kate Middleton's circle alone. He could be referencing a broader crisis of trust within institutions that claim moral or historical legitimacy, be it monarchies, corporations, or governments. But again, why direct the prophecy in such a specific direction toward a palace? The Holy See has a long memory, and it does not forget history. There have been tensions with the British crown dating back centuries. From Henry VIII's break with Rome, to Catholic-Protestant wars, to the refusal of monarchs to accept Vatican influence in British affairs. Some theorists speculate this moment is a calculated move to reinsert the Vatican into global moral discourse, using Kate Middleton as the symbol of rising virtue now under siege from within. Whether the Pope knows more than he's said remains unknown. But what is certain is that his words have triggered a sequence of speculation, action, and fear that can no longer be dismissed as spiritual rhetoric. This is no longer just about theology. This is about power, about influence, about warning shots fired not from across a battlefield, but from behind stained glass windows. The prophecy has been spoken. The Vatican will say no more. And the world is now left to ask, who will make the next move? If you ask the average Briton to describe Kate Middleton, the most common words you'll hear are elegant, graceful, and composed. For millions across the United Kingdom and far beyond, she's the modern embodiment of a royal ideal, dutiful but warm, stylish but modest, poised but approachable. A perfect queen in waiting. But beneath the polished surface and the orchestrated photo ops lies a more complex truth. Kate Middleton may be the most watched, most admired, yet most controlled woman in the world. And that control, tight as it is, has a breaking point. To understand why Pope Leo XIV's cryptic prophecy hits so hard, we must first understand the woman at the center of it. Born Catherine Elizabeth Middleton on January 9, 1982, in Reading, England, she entered the world far from the palaces and gilded thrones she would one day inhabit. Her family was upper middle class, her mother a former flight attendant, her father an aviation manager. They later founded a successful party supply business. Comfortable, yes. Aristocratic, no. She was not born with a title. She wasn't raised in castles. She was raised in the home counties, playing field hockey, attending local schools, and navigating an ordinary childhood. That all changed when she met Prince William at St. Andrews University in Scotland in 2001. Their courtship was slow, deliberate. She wasn't swept into the headlines overnight. But as cameras began catching glimpses of the tall brunette standing quietly next to the heir to the throne, public fascination began to grow. Unlike previous royal girlfriends, Kate never chased the spotlight. She didn't grant interviews. She didn't pose for fashion spreads. She disappeared when attention became too intense. That silence only added to her mystique. By the time William and Kate became engaged in 2010, the British public had already fallen in love with her, or, at least, with the idea of her. She was everything Diana had been in spirit, dignified, caring, photogenic, but none of what had scandalized the monarchy. She didn't give explosive interviews. She didn't weaponize the press. She didn't cry in front of cameras. She represented a safe reboot of the royal bride. And for the palace, that made her both a dream and a dilemma. A dream because she restored public confidence in the royal family during a period when its relevance was increasingly questioned. But a dilemma because her very popularity gave her immense soft power. She became a brand unto herself, a cultural icon. And the closer she moved toward her inevitable role as queen consort, the more that power began to subtly shift the palace's internal gravity. Kate Middleton didn't need to raise her voice to influence the narrative. Her silence alone could shift public sentiment. Her presence at a children's hospital, or her subtle touch of William's arm at a state dinner, became signals to the public. Reminders of what the monarchy could be. And it was this slow, quiet growth in stature that began to unsettle some behind the palace walls. Inside the royal family, where tradition and hierarchy dominate, anyone who becomes too beloved becomes a potential threat. That's what happened with Princess Diana. And history, some say, may now be repeating itself. The whispers began as early as 2016, when internal staffers noted how Kate had begun asserting herself more strongly in private discussions. She wanted more control over her charitable projects. She questioned the optics of some palace communications. She insisted on personal involvement in her children's education planning. These weren't royal rebellions. But they weren't the passive compliance that palace aides were used to either. The media, meanwhile, couldn't get enough of her. Dubbed the People's Princess 2.0, Kate quickly eclipsed every other working royal in approval ratings, often outpacing even Queen Elizabeth II during her final years. Her fashion choices sold out in hours. Her interviews were dissected line by line. Her parenting style was praised globally. But praise has a shadow. It builds resentment. Among palace staffers, particularly those loyal to the older generation of royals, there were murmurs that Kate was running the court in ways outsiders couldn't see. She was said to hold greater sway over Prince William than advisors liked. Some described her as quiet but calculating, always aware of her public image, always planning 5 steps ahead. Whether those assessments were fair or fueled by envy is unclear. But what is certain is that by 2020, Kate Middleton was no longer just the Duchess. She had become the monarchy's primary PR asset, and that put a target on her back. Then came Meghan Markle. The entrance of the American actress into the royal family sparked what can only be described as a civil war of image. Meghan's charisma, her openness, her willingness to speak openly about race and mental health attracted younger, more progressive audiences to the monarchy. But it also sparked comparisons, many of them brutal. Almost overnight, media narratives cast Kate and Meghan as opposites, the composed Brit versus the outspoken American, the traditionalist versus the reformer. Whether either woman wanted that framing didn't matter. The tabloids made it real. And behind the palace walls, lines were drawn. Staff were forced to take sides. Old loyalties were tested. Meetings became colder, more rigid. Kate, according to multiple insiders, retreated inward during this period. She smiled for cameras but remained cautious. She tightened her circle. She limited her unscripted moments. And as the Sussexes stepped back from royal duties in 2020, it was Kate who quietly absorbed the void they left behind, taking on more engagements, managing press expectations, and presenting the image of calm continuity. But calm is not the same as peace. And continuity does not mean unity. Within the palace, deep cracks remained. Staffers who had once served under Diana now saw in Kate a similar trajectory. Beloved, overexposed, and increasingly isolated. The more power she accumulated through public affection, the more resentment grew among those who believed she was veering dangerously close to becoming bigger than the institution itself. This tension only deepened as William became the Prince of Wales, a role that positioned Kate one step closer to queenship. With that promotion came greater scrutiny and greater expectations. Every word, every movement, every blink of her eye was analyzed for deeper meaning. Was she too political? Too passive? Too glamorous? Too controlled? Her relationship with other senior royals became a constant topic of quiet speculation. Was she on good terms with Camilla? Did she speak privately with Charles? Were there rifts within? While nothing overt was ever confirmed, multiple royal correspondents noted the coolness between Kate and certain older royals during public appearances. And yet, despite all of this, Kate never faltered publicly. She never complained, never lashed out, never gave an off-the-cuff remark that could be turned against her. That discipline, that near-inhuman self-control, became part of her legend. But it also led to one inevitable question. What is happening behind the scenes? Because people don't become that composed by accident. It takes pain, resilience, and, most disturbingly, control. What if Kate isn't the architect of her image, but its prisoner? The palace has long been accused of molding its women into symbols rather than people. Diana, Fergie, Meghan, all learned this the hard way. Kate has learned it too, but she's played the game differently. She adapted. She made the system work for her. Or so we thought. But now, with Pope Leo XIV's prophecy hanging like smoke above her head, a darker possibility emerges. What if the one who seems to have everything, status, power, admiration, is actually the most vulnerable of all? If betrayal is coming, it won't be from the outside. It will come from within. And that's what makes this story so haunting. Kate isn't being warned about enemies across the sea. She's being warned about people who walk the same corridors, attend the same dinners, smile for the same cameras. The people closest to her. And now, she must question everything. Every glance, every gesture, every ally. Because someone, perhaps even someone she has trusted for years, is preparing to turn on her. Maybe not with a weapon, but with something far more destructive in today's age, a secret, a leak, a whisper that ignites a storm. The public sees the polished exterior, the tailored coats, the warm smiles with children. But behind the scenes, Kate Middleton may be navigating a palace filled not just with royal tradition, but with shadows. With hidden rivalries, cold strategies, and dangerous ambition. The Pope's words didn't just predict betrayal. They peeled back the curtain on a possibility that millions had overlooked. That the real drama of the royal family isn't in the headlines. It's behind the smiles. The British monarchy, long regarded as a symbol of stability and continuity, is in a state of unprecedented flux as 2025 approaches. Beneath the glittering pageantry and the meticulously choreographed public appearances lies a tangled web of power struggles, shifting alliances, and silent wars waged far from the public eye. Understanding these palace dynamics is crucial to grasping the context behind Pope Leo XIV's prophetic warning concerning Kate Middleton's imminent betrayal. At the heart of the palace's current tensions is the evolving role of King Charles III. Following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, Charles ascended the throne under circumstances that few could have imagined just a decade prior. His long wait for kingship had been marked by controversy, public skepticism, and strained familial relationships. Though officially crowned, his reign is shadowed by health concerns and debates about his capability to manage the complex demands of modern monarchy. This perceived vulnerability has opened the door to shifts in influence and power within the palace walls. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, has emerged as a central figure in this new royal landscape. Publicly, he embodies continuity and modernity, a bridge between the traditions of the past and the expectations of a changing society. Privately, however, William faces the immense pressure of stepping into a role laden with expectation and internal opposition. His increasing responsibility is seen by some within the royal establishment as a necessary adaptation, while others perceive it as a threat to the established order. Within this backdrop, Kate Middleton's position becomes all the more significant. As William's wife and future queen consort, her influence extends beyond ceremonial duties. She represents a new generation, appealing to a public eager for accessibility and authenticity in the monarchy. Her growing popularity challenges entrenched hierarchies and unsettles those who have long operated behind the scenes. Power within the palace is not a monolith. It is fractured across various factions with competing visions for the monarchy's future. The traditionalists, often loyalists to King Charles and Queen Camilla, advocate for preserving the monarchy's historical image and protocols. They value discretion, hierarchy, and the preservation of royal mystique. Opposing them are the reformers, who support modernization, increased transparency, and a recalibration of the monarchy's role in a democratic society. Kate Middleton's rising star has unwittingly placed her at the nexus of this divide. To the traditionalists, she may appear as an outsider with growing influence that threatens their control. To reformers, she is a beacon of progress and stability. This internal divide manifests in many ways, from subtle snubs during official events to disputes over staffing, security, and public messaging. Some palace insiders report that meetings once marked by cordiality have become arenas of quiet confrontation. Decisions that once reflected consensus are now battlegrounds of conflicting interests. Moreover, the ripple effects of the Sussexes' departure from royal duties continue to impact palace dynamics. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's exit was not merely a personal decision. It represented a seismic shift in the monarchy's global image and internal balance of power. Their exit exposed fissures and intensified competition for influence among remaining royals and their entourages. Against this volatile backdrop, Kate Middleton's closest aides are under immense scrutiny. Loyalists seek to protect her interests, while others aim to limit her reach. The flow of information, always critical in such environments, is tightly controlled yet vulnerable to leaks. The palace has implemented heightened security measures, recognizing the dangers posed by internal dissent and external media. The prophecy by Pope Leo XIV, therefore, resonates deeply within this context of uncertainty and factionalism. The warning of betrayal from within the palace is not mere conjecture. It reflects tangible tensions that have been building over years. The one most trusted, who may become most dangerous, is a phrase that echoes in the minds of those navigating the palace's treacherous waters. As 2025 unfolds, every interaction, every whispered conversation, and every shift in allegiance within the palace will carry heightened significance. The monarchy stands at a crossroads where loyalty and ambition intertwine, and where the fate of Kate Middleton, and indeed the institution itself, may hinge on the outcomes of these covert struggles. In the intricate and shadowy world of the British royal palace, betrayal is rarely a blunt instrument. It is often a slow, meticulous process, woven with secrets, whispered conversations, and calculated decisions made in rooms hidden from the public eye. As Pope Leo XIV's ominous prophecy lingers, the inevitable question emerges: who within the palace walls could be the source of Kate Middleton's betrayal? To answer this, we must consider the most likely suspects. Those individuals whose proximity to Kate grants them both opportunity and motive. In a palace where loyalty is currency and trust is both a weapon and a shield, the betrayal could come from anywhere. But it almost certainly will come from someone closest to her. First among the list are the senior aides who serve Kate directly. These trusted staff members manage everything from her schedule and security to her public image and private affairs. One such aide, whose name has been whispered in royal circles for decades, is her private secretary. This person holds unprecedented access to Kate's correspondence and private moments, shaping not only how the Duchess is perceived but also influencing the flow of information to and from her. Rumors have circulated about a recent falling out between Kate and a senior aide who abruptly resigned under mysterious circumstances shortly after Pope Leo's prophecy. Some palace insiders suggest that this departure was no coincidence, but a preemptive move to shield the palace from leaks or internal sabotage. Then there is the royal household staff, the nannies, valets, and personal assistants who live and breathe the daily rhythm of palace life. While seemingly removed from the grand schemes of monarchy, these individuals often have intimate knowledge of private moments, vulnerabilities, and confidences. In past royal scandals, it has often been a trusted member of this cadre who leaked damaging information, either out of loyalty to another faction or personal grievance. Within the extended royal family itself, tensions simmer quietly. Members of the aristocracy who once enjoyed unchallenged influence are now confronted with a changing guard. Some feel sidelined by Kate's growing prominence and fear their relevance is fading. It is here that jealousy and ambition could combine to form the kernel of betrayal. Among these extended relatives, whispers have pointed toward a particular cousin known for his sharp political maneuvering and reported dissatisfaction with the current direction of the monarchy. His presence at public events is marked by a cold distance, and his private conversations have allegedly included veiled criticisms of Kate's influence. Another potential suspect is a royal advisor, whose role is to counsel members of the family on matters ranging from public relations to security. While advisors often act as trusted gatekeepers, their position also affords them tremendous power, control over narratives, influence over appointments, and access to classified information. Historically, palace advisors have been involved in internal power plays, sometimes to the detriment of those they serve. The palace security team, too, is not immune from scrutiny. The recent introduction of additional MI5 officers to Kate's detail, ostensibly for her protection following the papal warning, has raised eyebrows. Security personnel operate in a unique space where allegiance can sometimes blur, especially if individuals are placed under competing commands or influenced by outside pressures. Finally, and perhaps most controversially, speculation cannot ignore the possibility of betrayal from within the royal family's core itself. The palace is a network of interdependent relationships, some harmonious, others fraught with rivalry. The pressures of monarchy, personal ambitions, and unresolved grievances create a fertile ground for conflict. It is within this intricate web that the one most trusted, who could become most dangerous, might reside. Could it be a close relative, perhaps a sibling or in-law, who harbors secret resentments? Or someone who believes that removing Kate is necessary to protect the monarchy or their own status? Each suspect carries their own potential motives, whether political ambition, personal vendetta, or ideological disagreement. Each has the access and means to execute a betrayal that could shake the monarchy to its core. As this story unfolds, it is these individuals who will come under scrutiny. Their past actions, relationships with Kate, and possible connections to leaks or palace intrigues will be dissected by royal watchers, intelligence experts, and the public alike. In the end, the question remains: who within the palace will choose ambition over loyalty and turn against the woman poised to become one of the most powerful figures in British history? The Vatican and the British monarchy share a history steeped in intrigue, conflict, and mutual influence that spans centuries. To fully appreciate the gravity of Pope Leo XIV's cryptic prophecy concerning Kate Middleton's impending betrayal, one must explore this tangled past and understand the enduring relationship between religious authority and royal power. Historically, popes have wielded spiritual influence that often transcended borders, shaping the destinies of kingdoms and emperors alike. The papacy's role was never purely religious, it was deeply political. From the crowning of Charlemagne as Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD to the complex negotiations of treaties and alliances, popes acted as arbiters of legitimacy and moral authority. Their pronouncements could bolster or topple monarchs, often through subtle warnings, excommunications, or prophetic declarations. One of the most striking examples of papal prophecy influencing royal fate was the case of Pope Pius V, who excommunicated Queen Elizabeth I of England in 1570. This act declared her illegitimate in the eyes of the Catholic Church, fueling decades of religious and political turmoil. Although centuries removed from that era, echoes of this conflict persist in the cautious interactions between the Vatican and the British Crown. Another historical precedent lies in the use of prophecy as a diplomatic and moral tool. The Vatican archives contain numerous instances where popes issued veiled warnings to monarchs regarding governance, morality, and loyalty. For example, during the tumultuous years preceding World War I, Pope Pius X warned of impending catastrophe if leaders did not pursue peace and justice. While these statements often avoided direct naming, their implications were unmistakable to those in power. Within British history, prophecies and omens have often been intertwined with royal narratives. The legend of Merlin, the ancient prophet who foretold the rise and fall of kings, remains embedded in the cultural imagination. More recently, private predictions and warnings have circulated within royal circles, sometimes surfacing in memoirs or leaked correspondences, hinting at unseen threats and betrayals. The Vatican's approach to prophecy is nuanced. While grounded in faith, the papacy often uses prophetic language to signal deeper truths about human nature and institutional vulnerabilities. When a pope speaks of betrayal, it is both a spiritual admonition and a political statement. It calls attention to the fragility of trust within human relationships, especially where power is concentrated. Pope Leo XIV's specific mention of betrayal within the palace resonates with this tradition. It recalls biblical narratives, such as the betrayal of Jesus by Judas, which have long served as archetypes for understanding treachery in positions of intimacy. The phrase, "the one most trusted shall become the one most dangerous," draws on these ancient themes, warning that threats often arise not from enemies but from friends and allies. In this light, the Pope's prophecy can be seen as part of a continuum where religious leaders warn monarchs not only of external dangers but of internal decay. It suggests that the greatest risks to institutions are often those closest to their core. Understanding this historical context sheds light on the possible motivations behind the Vatican's decision to make such a public warning now. It reflects a deep concern about the stability of one of the world's oldest monarchies at a moment when it faces unprecedented challenges, from modernization pressures to familial discord. Moreover, the use of prophecy as a tool of influence allows the Vatican to engage with political realities while maintaining spiritual authority. It sends a message that transcends diplomatic channels, reaching the public and the palace alike with a sense of urgency and gravity. As this ancient dance between popes and kings continues, the prophecy about Kate Middleton stands as a modern chapter in a long saga of power, faith, and the fragile bonds of trust that hold institutions together. The British monarchy in recent years has been shaped not only by tradition and protocol, but also by the personalities and dynamics of its members. Among these, the relationship between Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle has drawn unprecedented public and media attention. This relationship, complex and fraught, casts a long shadow over the palace and, by extension, over the prophetic warning issued by Pope Leo XIV regarding Kate's impending betrayal. When Meghan Markle entered the royal fold in 2018 through her marriage to Prince Harry, the public narrative was initially filled with hope and excitement. An American actress, biracial and outspoken, Meghan represented a fresh face for a centuries-old institution. For many, she symbolized a modernizing monarchy that could resonate with a global, diverse audience. Yet, her arrival also disrupted long-standing patterns within the palace. From the outset, Meghan's integration was met with resistance on multiple fronts. The media quickly contrasted her with Kate Middleton, drawing sharp lines between the reserved, traditional duchess and the more assertive, candid newcomer. These portrayals were amplified by tabloids and social media, fueling speculation of rivalry and discord. Inside the palace, sources later revealed, tensions were palpable. Staff were caught between competing loyalties. Meetings became battlegrounds of personality clashes and policy disagreements. Meghan's circle accused Kate of coldness and exclusion, while Kate supporters viewed Meghan as a disruptor, challenging royal norms and protocols. This tension reached a boiling point with the explosive Oprah Winfrey interview in 2021, where Meghan and Harry aired grievances about their treatment by the royal family, including alleged racism and lack of support. The fallout reverberated worldwide, reigniting debates about race, privilege, and the monarchy's relevance. For Kate Middleton, the public airing of family drama was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it elicited sympathy from certain quarters for the immense pressures of royal life. On the other, it exposed fault lines and heightened scrutiny of her own role and relationships within the family. In the context of Pope Leo XIV's prophecy, Meghan's shadow over Kate's fate becomes particularly significant. The warning of betrayal from within the palace suggests the involvement of insiders who could be acting on personal, ideological, or factional motives. Given the recent history, it is natural to consider whether remnants of the Sussex faction or their allies within the palace might play a role. Though Meghan and Harry formally stepped back from royal duties and relocated to California, their influence remains. Their allies within media, charities, and possibly within palace staff continue to navigate complex loyalties. Some palace insiders speculate that efforts to undermine Kate's position might be motivated by loyalty to Meghan's cause or opposition to the current power structure. Moreover, the public rivalry narrative has created a climate of distrust and competition. In such an environment, betrayal can take many forms: leaked stories, orchestrated social media campaigns, or subtle undermining of authority behind closed doors. Kate's increasing prominence as a symbol of stability contrasts sharply with Meghan's disruptive role, making her an obvious target for those who see the monarchy's future differently. Whether through active plotting or passive neglect, the impact of this shadow war could be profound. Understanding Meghan's influence over palace dynamics is crucial to grasping the potential sources and motives behind any betrayal. It highlights how personal relationships intertwine with institutional politics, creating a volatile mix that threatens not only individual reputations but the very fabric of the monarchy. As 2025 approaches, the shadow looms large, reminding us that in the royal family, the personal is always political, and the line between friend and foe is often dangerously thin. Behind the polished public image and the carefully curated appearances lies a much more vulnerable reality for Kate Middleton. The woman known globally as the poised future queen carries with her burdens unseen by the public eye. In recent months, rumors and revelations have begun to surface about Kate's private struggles, personal writings, secret reflections, and footage captured away from the cameras that paint a more complex and human portrait of the Duchess. The idea that a royal figure keeps private diaries is not new. Historically, many members of the British royal family have maintained journals, not merely as outlets for emotion but as records of their thoughts and experiences. These writings often remain confidential during their lifetimes, becoming valuable sources for historians after their passing. For Kate Middleton, who has always been guarded about her personal life, the possibility of private diaries raises profound questions about what she might have revealed in these pages. Some palace insiders have whispered about a Kate diary, a collection of candid reflections on her marriage, the pressures of royal duties, and the isolation she sometimes feels. These diaries, if authentic, could provide an intimate look at her fears and hopes. They might expose frustrations with palace politics, moments of doubt about her role, or even concerns about those closest to her. The revelation or leak of such writings would be explosive, potentially undermining her carefully managed image and providing fodder for those seeking to destabilize her position. Compounding this intrigue is the alleged existence of unseen footage, videos taken during private moments, possibly by palace security cameras or staff. Unlike public engagements filmed by media crews, these recordings would capture Kate in unguarded situations, conversations behind closed doors, private family interactions, or reactions to palace affairs unknown to the public. The possibility of such footage leaking into the public domain is a nightmare scenario for any royal. In the digital age, where information travels instantaneously and privacy is fragile, the risk is ever present. Multiple intelligence sources have indicated heightened security protocols around digital communications and physical monitoring inside the palace, in part to prevent unauthorized recordings or leaks. Yet, these measures also suggest awareness of potential insider threats. The impact of such private materials becoming public would be devastating. Not only could they reveal sensitive personal information, but they could also be manipulated or taken out of context to fuel negative narratives. This form of betrayal, exposing the private vulnerabilities of a public figure, can be more damaging than any outright political plot. Furthermore, the palace has a history of managing or suppressing potentially damaging information, from royal scandals to familial disputes. However, the increasing sophistication of social media and independent journalism has made containment more difficult. Stories that once remained behind palace walls now surface rapidly, often with sensational consequences. Kate's secret struggles, therefore, must be understood not only as personal challenges but as potential vulnerabilities exploited by those who might seek to betray her. The Duchess's mental health has also been a topic of concern among close associates. The pressures of balancing motherhood, royal duties, and public scrutiny are immense. The public rarely sees moments of fatigue or emotional strain, but insiders acknowledge that Kate is human, subject to stress and anxiety like anyone else. In recent years, Kate has quietly advocated for mental health awareness, drawing from her own experiences. This advocacy, while commendable, also opens a window into her inner battles, a reality that, if weaponized by palace insiders or media adversaries, could be twisted into damaging rumors or false narratives. All of this paints a picture of a woman navigating a treacherous environment, where trust is scarce and loyalty fragile. The papal warning about betrayal from within the palace gains new weight when considering these private struggles. It is not just political rivalry at play, but a potential exploitation of vulnerability and intimacy. As this story unfolds, it is crucial to remember the human at its center, a duchess balancing immense public expectations with deeply personal challenges. Her secret diaries and unseen footage are not just sources of scandal but testaments to the complexity of life within the monarchy's gilded cage. In any institution as ancient and secretive as the British monarchy, information is power, and controlling that information can mean the difference between loyalty and betrayal. As 2025 draws near, whispers of a betrayal blueprint circulating within Buckingham Palace have begun to take shape. These are not mere rumors. They are strategic moves involving leaked documents, clandestine conversations, and a network of palace insiders whose loyalty is uncertain. Leaked documents have always played a crucial role in royal scandals. From the release of private correspondence to the publication of confidential memos, the palace has repeatedly faced challenges from those willing to expose its inner workings. But the leaks currently rumored to be surfacing against Kate Middleton appear to be more coordinated and sophisticated than anything previously seen. Sources close to the palace claim that anonymous informants have begun distributing carefully selected documents to journalists, intelligence agencies, and rival factions within the royal household. These documents allegedly contain details about Kate's private communications, internal palace disputes, and decisions regarding her public engagements. While some of the material may be innocuous, other elements are said to be deliberately framed to cast doubt on her judgment and loyalty. The timing of these leaks coincides alarmingly with Pope Leo XIV's prophecy. The implication is clear. This is not a random act, but a calculated effort to undermine Kate's position before the year of predicted betrayal. Palace insiders report an atmosphere of heightened suspicion and paranoia. Meetings once held in confidence are now guarded by electronic surveillance and personnel vetting. Staff changes are frequent, as security teams attempt to root out potential sources of leaks. Yet, despite these measures, information continues to trickle out, suggesting that the network of insiders is both deep and resilient. Whispers in the corridors speak of factionalism at its peak. Certain factions are believed to favor different visions for the monarchy's future, with some seeking to promote Kate as the stabilizing force, while others view her rise as a threat to their influence and agendas. The leaked documents serve as weapons in this silent war, designed to erode trust and create fractures. In addition to documents, there are reports of covert audio recordings capturing private conversations involving Kate and her closest advisors. Such recordings, if authenticated, could reveal strategic discussions, personal doubts, or criticisms of other royal family members. The existence of these recordings would represent a serious breach of privacy and trust, fueling the palace's internal crisis. The palace's response has been swift yet discreet. Security protocols have been tightened, and internal investigations launched to identify the sources of leaks. Communications with the media have become more controlled, with official statements emphasizing unity and denying any internal discord. However, the damage from the leaks is already palpable. Media outlets have begun to publish stories questioning Kate's reliability and the harmony within the royal household. Social media campaigns subtly sow doubt among the public, leveraging the leaked information to create narratives of division and intrigue. This betrayal blueprint appears to be designed for maximum impact with minimal exposure. By using intermediaries and anonymous sources, those orchestrating the leaks maintain plausible deniability while achieving their objectives. Furthermore, the strategic nature of these leaks suggests involvement beyond individual palace staff. Analysts speculate possible external influences, political actors, intelligence agencies, or rival factions with vested interests in destabilizing the monarchy. For Kate Middleton, navigating this minefield requires immense resilience and support. The palace's traditional mechanisms for damage control are being tested by the speed and scale of information dissemination in the digital age. The blueprint for betrayal is not simply about revealing secrets. It's about shaping perceptions, controlling narratives, and eroding the foundations of trust that Kate has built over years. It's psychological warfare played out through documents and whispers, with the potential to fracture the very institution she represents. As this campaign unfolds, the question remains, who benefits from Kate's downfall, and how far will they go to achieve it? Today, we dive deep into a cryptic warning from Pope Leo XIV, who shocked the world by revealing that in 2025, Kate will face betrayal, not from outsiders, but from someone inside the palace itself. Who could it be? What secrets might be leaking? And how will this hidden betrayal threaten not only Kate's future, but the stability of the monarchy? Stay tuned as we uncover the layers behind this shocking prophecy and what it means for the royal family's most pivotal moment yet. The Vatican's sudden and cryptic warning regarding Kate Middleton's impending betrayal has left many observers questioning the true nature of the Holy See's involvement in British royal affairs. Is Pope Leo XIV's prophecy a genuine spiritual admonition rooted in divine insight? Or is it a calculated political maneuver designed to influence the balance of power within the monarchy? To answer this, we must examine the Vatican's historical engagement with political matters, its modern diplomatic strategies, and the context surrounding this unprecedented declaration. For centuries, the Vatican has navigated a delicate balance between its religious mission and its role as a sovereign entity in international politics. The Holy See maintains diplomatic relations with nearly every nation, using its moral authority to advocate for peace, human rights, and ethical governance. Yet beneath this spiritual veneer lies a sophisticated intelligence and diplomatic apparatus capable of shaping global affairs through subtle means. Pope Leo XIV's decision to publicly reference a betrayal within Buckingham Palace marks a departure from the Vatican's usual diplomatic discretion. Such directness raises questions about the motivations behind the warning. Is the Vatican expressing genuine concern for the stability of the British monarchy, which holds significant historical ties to the Church? Or is it leveraging its spiritual influence to assert pressure on an institution facing internal discord? One interpretation is that the Vatican is acting as a guardian of moral order, warning against the dangers of betrayal and disloyalty that threaten not just individuals but the social fabric. From this perspective, the Pope's words are a call to conscience, urging those within the palace to uphold integrity and unity. However, others see a more strategic dimension. The Vatican, aware of the shifting geopolitical landscape and the monarchy's evolving role, might be seeking to assert its relevance by inserting itself into this high-profile narrative. By issuing a prophecy that commands global attention, the Holy See reaffirms its position as a moral compass in a world increasingly skeptical of traditional authority. Furthermore, the Vatican's message may serve as a subtle warning to palace factions. By highlighting the risk of betrayal from within, the Pope could be encouraging internal reflection and caution among royal advisors and family members. This can be interpreted as an attempt to prevent further fragmentation or scandal that might destabilize the monarchy and, by extension, the Church's historical influence. Diplomatic sources suggest that behind the scenes, the Vatican has been engaged in quiet dialogue with British officials regarding the state of the monarchy and its future. The timing of the public prophecy may be linked to these confidential discussions, signaling both concern and a desire to influence outcomes without overt interference. The Vatican's historical approach to such matters often involves layered messaging, using scripture, symbolism, and prophecy to convey warnings while maintaining plausible deniability. Pope Leo XIV's choice of words and the inclusion of biblical references align with this tradition, allowing the Church to communicate weighty concerns while avoiding direct political confrontation. In analyzing the Vatican's role, it is also important to consider the broader context of religious and cultural shifts. The Catholic Church faces challenges worldwide, including declining influence in some regions and rising secularism. Engaging in high-profile issues like the British monarchy may be part of a broader strategy to reaffirm its global significance. Ultimately, whether the Vatican's warning is a heartfelt admonition or a calculated chess move, it undeniably impacts the royal family's narrative. It introduces an element of spiritual authority into palace politics, reminding all parties that beyond earthly power dynamics, there are perceived higher stakes. As the year 2025 approaches, the Vatican's involvement adds a layer of complexity and gravitas to the unfolding drama surrounding Kate Middleton. The question remains, will the monarchy heed this warning? Or will internal divisions and ambitions overshadow the call for loyalty and unity?